my name's Lewis Tyler, Managing Editor of International Fire and Safety Journal. I'm delighted to be here on the VID Firekill stand at the NFPA Conference in Las Vegas. Joining me, Miguel. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Yourself?
Perfect.
Great.
Now, I know we were talking before about, you are the man for the data center expert in terms of it's something you've really focused on, and I know the company has as well. So,
that's right.
Data centers, there's been a huge boom in spend on the infrastructure, but with that comes fire risk. So how are you kind of helping the end users to really manage that risk?
I think if you look at the difference in how data centers were constructed back in the old days, like we tell them, and now it's a huge difference. You see power demand going up, you see loads going up, so rack densities going up. It means that we are trying to put more in less. So it's not that these data centers from itself have been changing. If you look at infrastructure-wise, that much in size, they have been just increasing, just also in densities. What we see in that case is that increasing in densities is giving us a different fire risk, a much higher fire risk, as we are just, the densities are just at the same plot, same space, but in that case also we have an issue, of course. So if you look at the traditional sprinkler systems that are deployed also in many of those data centers, in that case they just also increasing in the fire risk. So that means that they were just increasing in the fire risk classification. So the fire risk classification has been going up because you're dealing with different fire loads. For example, you're dealing now with multiple cable trays. In the past, we only had one cable tray. Yeah. It's not feasible anymore. So multiple cable trays, we see heights different. We see heights going up from 4.5 meters up to 6-7 meters in this case. All that change has been also affecting the risk classification. If you look at right now, those areas like data centers, data halls, were classified in the past as in hazard category 1 perhaps. Even in some cases, we have been even seeing light hazards coming up. Right now, it's classified as in hazard category 2, based on amount of cable trays, based on internal heights. With that new risk, you also increase your risk. You also increase the densities that you need for your water supply. It means also that our water tank for installation of sprinkler system has been going fairly up, just in size. Also, the problem for not being able to connect to a sewer directly to collect fire water in round tanks. You have to imagine how that is different. Also, just changing the plot. The plot needs to be bigger, not only because we're building a different wise the data center, but also size-wise. You need to allow for a sprinkler tank being outside. Our technology is focusing on a water reducement of 80 to 90% compared to traditional sprinklers. So we have also the HE3 approval. HE3 approval is covering data halls, loading bays, UPS room, technical rooms. We can protect a complete data center right now using an hazard category 3 fully FM approved solution. There is where, at the end of the day, we make the difference. We make the difference in that the site selection from operators can be different. For example, here we are in the US, yes, we have enough space to build just one floor of data center. In Frankfurt, in Madrid, in Amsterdam, there is no space anymore. You have to go up. So we build them up. Building them up also, imagine that you have to allow for 400,000 liters of water on your second floor. Not being able to drain that completely, but just need to allow for that risk. The collateral damage, that's something that we have been seeing, that is what we don't want. You see comparison sheets that we have on our presentations, is you see also that after 60 minutes how far that room is underwater. That's where you get it like visuals. If you get those visuals, then we see also that not only our customers being the service operators, but also consultancy engineering firms also seeing that we can no longer protect just a used operational sprinkler system without accepting any risk with that, of course.
And then you mentioned there in terms of, different application really. Some fire systems haven't been built for the data centers, so you're really approaching it from a different way, which is, as you mentioned, is exactly what this is. So how did it come about?
It just came about. At the end of the day, it's FM as an insurance company. It's one of the it's the biggest insurance company in the world that is protecting, also insuring commercial properties. They just have the most complete standard also, in which they define what kind of risk classifications you have in the different areas in the data center. For all that, they have the data sheet 532, in which they just get them all in defining them which area is which risk, of course. They came out with a test protocol that allows water mist to be tested against that protocol. For us, it was clear. For us, that was the last piece of the puzzle that we needed. And we were just very proud also. This has been tested that last year, obtaining our approval. And with that, right now, bullet speed now just changing the way we are looking at the fire protection of data centers. More and more service providers are reaching out to us directly. In the past, we didn't saw that. We didn't saw also the end user coming up to us. They were also just relying on the consultancy firms. Right now, we see that even they are pointing out the consultancy firms to us, saying, look, talk to these guys. Because what they are saying is what we want. We are FM insured. We need a full FM approved system in here. These guys have that. They can allow with one system protect the complete data center, so all areas. In the past, we ended up with sprinkler systems for an office, for a data hall, gas suppression for perhaps a technical room, with all kind of different systems. Right now, it's only one tank, one pump, serving all the areas in the data center, depending on the most demanding risk, and that is the hazard category 3 risk that we have. So with this risk, we are able to protect all these different applications and areas in the data center.
Now I know you guys you see yourselves as leading the way in this area of the market, but just in terms of data center operators, owners, what do they really need to be looking at for an effective fire suppression system within their buildings?
What they need to allow for, of course, is just they need to understand what the risk is. At the end, they also they are deploying data centers because they're also just if you look at the co-locations are building data centers to run them to their tenants, and the tenants, they need to rely on the fact that they are just that their equipment is protected with a solution that is just future-proof. Right now, if we protect the data hall, for example, with a solution that is not future-proof, it could be that they're changing the tenant. The tenant is requesting them to use a higher risk classification. The installed system is not fulfilling that need, so they are limiting themselves also to be able to be more flexible in the market, to allow certain tenants, certain hyperscalers also to rent place at their co-locations. So we are really seeing this as a future-proof solution. From now, in the next 5 to 10 years, we see big changes coming up. Data halls are classified hazard category 2. We are ready for when they classify them hazard category 3 because we have it already. One size of pump, one size of tank, and we protect all the areas. So what we encourage them always is just to just open up and to see what's out there, and that this flexible solution, by controlling the size of your water tank, we'll be able to put the water tank inside of the building, changing the plot. Like I said, in Frankfurt we don't have much space anymore. So as the plot gets smaller, they can even just have a different site selection. And that's what's happening right now. We have been talking with site selection managers from different operators. They're really saying it. Getting that sprinkler tank inside, for us, is a game changer because we can change. We can perhaps go to a plot that's smaller. First, we could not get there because of the infrastructure that we needed. It's above ground and below ground. In this case, they can change it. So that's flexibility. I think that's something that they really, really appreciate right now. With that, of course, they are ticking all the box of compliance, because that's also one important one. You need to be compliant, and they're compliant, full compliance with local regulations, with the insurance part. And at the end of the day, what they also can rely on is that the water mist, by the way it fights the fires, it will also control the fire much quicker. So less downtime, less collateral damage. And at the end of the day, just using water in a much more clever way. Using 80% for what they were using in the past, wetting the stuff. We don't need to wetten the stuff, we just need to control that fire rapidly. And that's what we're doing right now.
Miguel, thank you.
Thank you very much.